I apologize for anyone who's more advanced. This is going to be a basics talk. That's about all I had time to do, and I went looking for a more recent like setup guide for just going from your defaults to flying, and I couldn't find one on the most recent PX4, so I figured this would be a good resource for my customers and for you. So, here you go. Oh. All right, first step, super basic, download Q ground control. You can download the release or the daily. I usually like to run the daily just for fun. You're going to flash the latest version of PX4 or main. I also like flashing main just because I always want to know if main is working. So you can, when you go to flash, the latest stable release will be the default, but if you hit advanced settings, you can go in there and then flash main. If there's a beta release or an alpha release, it'll also be in there as well. You're gonna get into QGC. You'll have this default view. You get a bunch of red icons in here, and that's gonna be your starting point. Next step, you're gonna jump into the airframe config, and in here you can select what type of airframe you have. If you just select the icon, it'll default to that like default airframe for that type. If you click the little drop down in any of those airframe types, there'll be some other vehicles with like actual special tuning and parameter defaults that could change. So if you have a standard airframe that you're building and selling to people, you can upstream that into the airframe's config file, and that'll show up in this drop down. Or if you have a private fork, you want to put it in there and run it, it'll show up there. Now, once you've set your airframe, it'll reboot. You'll get into the new default view. You can see that the airframe icon is green. That just means you've done one step. You can kind of jump around to any of these different steps and do them. They don't have to necessarily be done in any order at this point. The quick thing to go in to do is set your power settings, where you set your number of cells, what your empty voltage is going to be, your full voltage. The voltage divider portion, if you're using a board that has an onboard voltage divider and it's measuring the battery voltage directly on board, this will be set by default to the board default. So in this case, I'm running the ARK FPV flight controller, and it gets battery directly on the board. So that'll just be set to 21 in this case. Your amps per volt will depend on your ESC. So if you're on like a FPV quad where the current shunt's on the ESC, that'll be defined by the board that you're using there. So you'll have to look that up. In this case, I'm using the ARK 4-in-1 ESC, and that has 100 amps per volt is what the shunt and the current shunt amplifier work out to be. If you have like a digital power module, that'll also show up here. That'll depend on your board. You won't get this voltage divider and amps per volt when you're using a digital power module. It'll be smart enough to know that you don't need to set that. Then you can jump into your serial config. So if you have your RC radio, I highly recommend for any new drone development to have an RC transmitter connected. Even if you're planning on doing autonomous drone development, it's a very smart call to have an RC transmitter as backup. So in this case, this got changed recently from 115 to 116, and in main, there used to be one massive RC driver, and it would auto detect a bunch of different protocols, and it could misinterpret CRSF as ghost, and it was kind of a mess. So we broke it apart. Now there's individual serial drivers for every single serial protocol, and it's nice, but you also need to make sure you only have one enabled at a time. And this is just like you select the drop down, and you say what serial port you've connected your RC transmitter to. Just a little nice to have on the side is if you're using Crossfire, you can use Crossfire telemetry, and that's under RC, CRSF, tel, enable. And so this will transmit Crossfire telemetry out over UART on your RC serial port. And then in your transmitter, you can set this up to show you that telemetry. Now with your transmitters powered on, it's bound. You go into the radio calibration, and then you'll hit calibrate, and it'll ask you for a bunch of prompts. You'll move your sticks up and down, you'll flip all your switches, and it'll detect all your available channels. Once you get that done, you're going to jump into the flight mode configuration, and I recommend doing a 3-position switch for the mode selector, in which case this is channel 6. Usually you put your default mode to manual, your next kind of middle position mode to altitude, and then your 3rd position to position mode. And so when you're out testing, you can always start in manual mode or default back to manual mode or altitude if things go wrong. It kind of gives you a quick flip back there. And then set your emergency kill switch. This is something I highly recommend. In case anything goes completely wrong, you can always kill the drone, drop it out of the sky, hopefully not hurt anybody. If you're using ELRS with Crossfire, I recommend putting this on channel 5. This is their ARM, special ARM channel that gets sent with every single packet. And if you're using the Radio Master Pocket, that works out to be a 2-position switch, which is really nice. And if you reverse the direction in the parameters, you can make it default killed. So when you power on your transmitter, it won't let you fully power on until you put all the switches into the default positions. And if you flip the RC5_rev parameter to reverse, it will default your transmitter to killed. So then you just know anytime I power on my drone, my transmitter is in the killed position. You can't accidentally arm. I don't like mapping an arm switch for that reason, so that you don't accidentally arm your drone. I like the down into the right arm command on the stick. So, and then you just need to remember to unkill your transmitter anytime you're gonna fly. Next, you're going to jump into the actuator setup. So this, from 1.14 to 1.15, got moved from the old mixer to the new control allocator. And control allocator is super powerful. There's tons of stuff you can do. You can always go in and actually look at the math and add new mixers into the control allocator. In this case, you have the geometry. And in there, these values that show 1.0 right now, these are technically in meters, but it's all, in the end, it's unitless, and it's all just relative to each other. It's just how it calculates the actual mixer is just relative to the geometry. So what you'll do is you'll say how many motors you have, and then you can measure your airframe, and you'll get a better performance if you put those real numbers in there, because then it's just the relative shape of your airframe will get calculated. Then you'll go over to your outputs. If you're doing a little FPV drone or even any other drone, I highly recommend DShot over PWM. You don't have to worry about calibration, range, you'll get telemetry. Yeah. All right, next up, you'll want to figure out which motor is which, because 1 through 4 won't match the PX4 defaults of where the motor position is in the control allocator. And so what you'll want to do is take your props off, connect your battery. You'll start with mapping main 1 to motor 1. And then down in the bottom there, you can say propellers are removed, enable sliders. You can start spinning a motor. And then you'll see which motor spins when you've mapped main 1 to motor 1, and it probably won't correspond to the actual motor 1 position in the front right corner. So once you determine which motor spun, you'll update main 1 to that motor position, and then you'll do the same for main 2 through 4. So then you'll end up, after you've set like the airframe geometry on like my little quad I have up here with me, you can tell that the actual geometry updated. And then my motor outputs ended up being main 1 is motor 4, main 2 is motor 1, 3 is 2, and 4 is 3. So kind of fun there. The next thing you'll want to do is figure out the spin direction and make sure your motors are all spinning in the directions that PX4 is expecting them to spin. And so what you'll do is you can do the same thing. You spin up one motor at a time and check the direction. If you have your props off, you can just kind of with your fingers kind of feel which way it's spinning, because sometimes it's hard to tell. And this is only for a small quad at least. If you're using DShot, you can just use these set spin direction buttons at the bottom to actually change the spin direction, and then you can recheck it. It'll make a little beep. The DShot or the motor will beep saying it accepted the command. If you're using PWM, you're going to have to desolder 2 phases of your motor and flip them. And then DShot parameters, you'll jump in here under DShot. Highly recommend you enable bidirectional DShot if it's supported on your flight controller. That'll get high rate RPM data coming back. Jake implemented all this wherever Jake is. And then DShot telemetry config, if you map that, I think we lost our there we go. Okay, we're back. Map that to a serial port. You'll have to wire it up. So on the ARK FPV and the ARK 4-in-1 ESC, that is just a wire harness, and it goes straight to Telem serial 4, and that'll give you the low rate, like voltage, current, temperature of your ESC. If you have the RPM coming back over DShot, highly recommend you jump into the Gyro FFT dynamic notch filter and turn on ESC RPM filtering. This will make your tuning much cleaner from the get-go, because it'll actually use that RPM data as a moving notch filter. And then you can have FFT enabled too, and that just runs an FFT on your attitude data to filter out some of those spikes in the FFT. Next, you'll jump in, if you have a GPS, you'll jump into the GPS config. Most of the time, if you're connecting a serial and I2C GPS to your flight controller, you're going to connect it to the GPS port. It'll be auto-mapped already to GPS 1, but you can connect that to any available serial port on your flight controller, and you can map that here. There's some more advanced parameters for GPS as well under EKF, where you can actually set the location, the offset of your GPS relative to your center of gravity of your airframe. And on a little quad, it doesn't really matter, but on a large quad, that'll make a big difference if you have your GPS mounted kind of far off from the center. You'll definitely want a telemetry radio if you're doing things brand new on a vehicle. So if you have like a 3DR SICK radio, something like that, you'll plug that into one of the telemetry ports or another UART. You'll map that in the mav_0 config. In this case, it's Telem 1. And then the other thing you'll need to set is the serial baud rate parameter. So for like a SICK radio, Telem 1 57600 baud is the default, and that works for SICK radios. Next, you're going to be under logging, and that I highly recommend you turn on high rate logging initially, because that'll give you that FFD plot and make your tuning easier. It'll make your logs much larger, but it's worth it initially. So that's under the SD log profile parameter, and you just turn on high rate there. If you're doing more complex debugging, there's all the other checkboxes in those bit fields you can enable. If you have anything connected over drone CAN or UAV CAN, that's under the UAV CAN tab, and you turn on, like I've got an optical flow on here, so I turn on my sub flow, I turn on sub rangefinder. If you have like a drone CAN GPS with a barometer, you'd turn on sub baro, etc. And then finally, you're going to go into calibration. In here, PX4 does a pretty good job of auto-calibrating, for the most part, your accel and gyro now. So you'll just do a quick calibration here with accel and gyro and compass. I highly recommend you get a GPS fix so that you know that PX4 knows the expected magnetic field strength in your area of the world. That was a bug we fixed recently. That default value was not so great. You can set mag priorities. PX4 116 now, when you calibrate your drone and it has an external mag, it disables your internal mag, which I actually like having an internal mag. I set it to a low priority so that it is a backup. You'll do pre-flight checks. You'll go into the flight view and you can do kind of tilt your drone around and check that and move it around and check that the heading moves, check that your orientations are correct. On a small quad, you can kind of hold it and arm it the first time, throttle up a little bit, make sure that it resists pitch, roll, and yaw, and then if it starts oscillating, you know you've done something wrong immediately. You can just turn it off and go back and check your motor directions, your prop directions, all the fun stuff. You can't do that on a big drone, by the way. On a big drone, you arm it, and if it starts oscillating, it'll be obvious. All right, then you go outside, go somewhere safe, fly it. It'll be obvious if it works or not. Then you start tuning, flight review, FFT, stuff to look at. I'm out of time, so motor outputs, you can set your hover thrust based on your average motor output. Average current, you can set your average current. You can go to the PAD plot, check your PADs, use that to tune your PADs. And then there's a whole tuning guide in the docs. So thank you.